So let's talk pros and cons of clearing the land, what it costs to acquire it, as far as, the price per acre is going to vary every month, every year, with the market. And then I know that surveys and such will vary as well, but what would it cost to survey the 6 acres roughly? Give me a range of that, what that looks like.
I can tell you what this, pretty close actually, because there was another parcel over here that was surveyed at the same time. There was already, if we touched on this in the first episode, but if you remember, the corners are how they do this basically. You've got 4 corners obviously, but that's where they start. This property had already been surveyed 1 over. There's 10 acres next to it. So that survey line came to it. So you already had that one survey line down. What you needed to do was come across. Actually, you had that line, you had the front line, and the back line. So what you had to do, and this line over here, excuse me. So it really just needed to be cut in half, and there was something else added to it. But if I recall, that was about $2,000. Depending on the land, I think most people can understand this. There's a property for sale across the road owned by Stony Brook College, or their fund. I feel like I'm brain dead. Their investment fund that they're trying to sell right now that hasn't been surveyed in probably ever, for that matter. I have bought land that's never been surveyed. You're going to want to survey it. There's no question about that, because you want to know where it's at right now. Going back years ago, the way they did surveys, they would find like a fixed point being a rock or something like that, which you can imagine causes a lot of heartache to some people, or people get upset over their land, which I understand. But that's a definite thing that there's no question. On 20 acres, and as you said, Brent, they're all so different. If you already have, like this one here, and I mentioned that it was about $2,000 to cut one line down the middle, and there was another, I think there was something about the other corner on it. But 20 acres, the 20 acres we listed actually the other day, which I showed you, you already had 2 corners on it. Actually, you had 3 corners on it, and one side, so you need another side, etc. It's going to be about the same amount of money, $2 to $4,000, because it's a larger property. And those costs have gone up drastically. The survey guys are so buried right now they can't keep up, because again, like everywhere else, people really want to get out in the country. They want to buy what have you. People have just been buying and buying and buying. And did you mention something about perk?
Yeah, that was my next question. Was what does the perk cost to get that?
Well, okay, perk. What you're in essence doing, and please don't. I'm not a expert on. I'm an authority on everything. An expert on nothing.
Please comment on exactly what a perk test is.
It's a percolation test, and what they're trying to figure out is, will the soil drain to put in a septic tank? Because in most of these areas, you're not on city sewer. So the health department runs that, and they have a group of contractors that are trained and will come out and do a test. When you do that test, I think you need to dig a hole
like 4 feet deep.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5 feet deep and probably 4 feet wide, and that's a rough guesstimate. And what they're doing is they're checking the soil. Will it drain? When you put lateral lines in, you obviously don't want to be near a body of water, or just common sense things like that. But of all this land I've touched up here, and this is really rocky land right here, I haven't had a problem perking. Where you might have a problem, especially I had a property down the road that was literally built up on the side of the mountain, and it was all bedrock. I sold that for a different reason to someone else that it tied to their land when I sold them that. It might perk, it might not. But those are things to be aware of, because that'll affect the value of your property.
So, technical glitch, our camera overheated and the battery died, so we were right in the middle of a sentence about compost toilets, and that's an option, and being like off-grid that way.
And you want to be my executive producer.
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying.
So,
do my best.
There's different options all around. Some people actually prefer the compost and the incinerators. There's actually an incinerator toilet that is made in Arkansas. It's $5,000 for the unit. You see them in boats, RVs, etc. But that's actually relatively inexpensive. compared to putting in the pipes and the septic, etc. A septic tank now, I'm going to give you an average number. Installed will probably cost you $7,000 to $8,000 with the lateral lines, and then obviously you've got to run the lines to it. So there's a little bit involved in it. What you'll find is the fixed cost, the land is way more than people realize when they get into it. I choose to do large swaths at a time, so I kind of inflict the pain on myself. You can come in and pick a site, just clear it, and save yourself a lot of money on the land clearing side of it. But again, it just goes back to what are your parameters, what are you trying to accomplish? A gentleman I sold a property to over here, he likes just being in the forest. He's hardly cut anything for a view. He's building a home back up that's similar to this property here, and he may or may not hook the electric up. He doesn't know yet, but there's just, and again, going back to what I was saying in the very beginning, I personally like options. Just know what you're looking for and see if it will work for you.
All right. Is there any other expenses when it comes to, we got survey, we got percolation, and then like a water tap, is that like, what is that, $1,000?
So a water tap, and be careful depending on your water authority, but that's very easy to find out. You just call the local water department, going back to everything we've touched on, make sure you're on the line. But I've seen water taps up here there's 3 different authorities that I'm aware of. One of them, I think, was $500. Another one was $1,000. Another one was $1,500. That doesn't really mean anything. It just depends on what that particular water authority is trying to accomplish. Is it great to have the cheaper one? Absolutely, but I wouldn't let that interfere with what you want, or if you find the piece of property you absolutely love, because it's a small smidgen. One thing to be careful of, though, is in going back, is be aware where your main line is at. Because if you can imagine, in this property we're on right now, and Brent's kind of done a pan of how high up there you are, if you had a main line, say, down here, and you're trying to run it up to the top of that hill, that gets extremely expensive because you need to bring an excavator in here to dig the hole and go all the way up there. Then you also have issues going up the hill with pressure. You'll have to do something else. But PEX pipe gets expensive very quickly. So that's why, I really try and focus on, if that's what you want, the water and electric. That's where I start. And again, going hand in hand, you've got to have the land you want. So it's not as hard as it sounds, but it's doable.
And if you want a beautiful piece of land up here in Mountainburg, Chester, Winslow area, anywhere in between, and you don't want to deal with all the little details, have this guy deal with it. Reach out to him now, email, call, text, whatever you got.
And I do check caller ID, so if you're a pain, I may not call you back, and that's a joke, obviously, but and Brent's right. We're both in the real estate business. There's a reason. You can tell there's a lot of love for it, and again, the knowledge. And I've gained that knowledge just by doing. I didn't wake up with it, and I think what you'll find, if you get headed in the right direction, it will go a long way. It's just the first piece is finding that right piece of property, which I have one listed right down the road if I can help anyone, and kind of circling back on that, that's a property of friends of mine, and that buddy of mine, we knew each other down in Dallas. He helped me get going on a lot of this stuff, and I've gone a little crazy on the things I've done, but find the right people that know what they're talking about, and if they don't, they'll put you in touch with the right person. And it's really not earth-shattering. It's just it can be frustrating, but it's like anything, and you might find the best property you ever wanted to have, and decide, I want to retire here and make this my permanent home. I think that's about all we have on this one, Brent. Your battery's going to probably blow up.
Yeah, it's exploding soon. There's a countdown timer, kind of like Mission Impossible. So reach out to us, do all the YouTube buttons, whatever you got to do. Thanks for watching, and until the next episode.